Ready to embrace the magical side of life, where anything is possible and the infinite is accessible to all? Let's have a conscious conversation about what's going on in the world, in your life, and your relationship from the expanded perspective of your soul. The path to awareness begins and ends in the heart. So let's take it there, one step at a time, and learn to cultivate magic in your life every single day. In each episode, we share a collective space in which we discover the unique facets of our own magic and embody our superhuman qualities by humbly exploring how it's super simply to be human. Hosts Kai and Dell co-create a magical experience to remind you that you are magical as fuck. Now, be unleashed. This is our daily magic.
And we're live. Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of our Daily Magic Podcast, in which what we love to have is magical conversations with magical guests who get to showcase their unique magic and gifts. What our belief is every single person who watches this is magical in their own different way. And what these conversations have for our attention is you can be able to find something to discover more about yourself, discover more magic that's in the world already, and also discover some new ways to integrate more of your magic in your life and impact everyone in yours. I'm excited for this episode. I am one part of the completed guest of the show. I'm Dell. And
I'm Kai, and I have the honor and pleasure to introduce Dr. LuLu, who is our guest today.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Kai and Dell, for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
Yeah. And then for everyone who comes in for live, definitely share your comments. If you have any questions through this, share your experiences and how this resonated with you. We're going to have a pretty fun conversation and allow it to flow, but it gets more flowier with our community that shows up for these things.
Flowier. I love that.
Yes. Pulled that from the Dell dictionary. Dr. LuLu is a naturopathic physician and expert in genetic health, working with patients experiencing chronic disease, hormonal imbalance, endocrine disorders, gastrointestinal dysfunction, depression, anxiety, and fatigue. She believes that once we dive deep into the root of the problem of the distortion and ignite our body's innate ability to heal, we see unimaginable changes in our well-being. Her passion lies in helping people discover their zest and joy for life that has been lost along their path of illness. Before starting Dr. LuLu Naturopathic Clinic, she journeyed through many careers, a true Renaissance woman. And would you like to give us an overview of what those many careers have been?
Sure. Oh my gosh, there's so many things. I am a yoga teacher. I worked at a yoga retreat center in the kitchen. I love to cook, so I'm a chef. I was a pastry chef in New York. I run a botanical garden at the Veterans Healing Farm in Hendersonville, North Carolina. I own my own clinic. I am an herbalist, a master aromatherapist. The list kind of goes on and on. What are the things? I love to travel. I think that's a big, like one of my hobbies. I'm going to Italy this year. So I love to experience culture. So I'm a travel aficionado.
Nice. What are some of the other places that you've traveled?
Oh, I think my favorite is Peru right at the moment. I loved going to Peru, experiencing the culture and being on the Amazon because I could meet all of the plants in the forest, be on the boat, see the different animals. I loved seeing birds. So I got to see like all these different birds and parrots, and I saw a sloth in the tree. So yeah, I think the Amazon is one of the definitely. Oh, and I got to go piranha fishing.
Wait, piranha fishing.
Yeah, so you're on a boat and then you have this fishing line, you put the little meat, the raw meat on it, and then these piranhas like jump out of the water and attach on. And so we caught all these piranhas and then we grilled them and ate them.
How
They don't have a
does
lot of meat.
how does piranha taste?
And just like any other fish, really, like, you know, when you grill it, like fish tastes pretty similar.
That's interesting. That is very interesting.
It was great.
Oh, we already have a comment. So thanks, Peter, for showing up. So Peter said he's a veteran and he said he was in the Air Force.
Nice. Thanks for your service, Peter.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you, Peter.
Yeah, so I run the medicinal garden at the Veterans Healing Farm in Hendersonville, North Carolina, and I also run the community clinic there where I see veterans for free for naturopathic medicine. So I teaching veterans how to use plant medicine to enrich their lives. So that's plants is a huge like passion in my life, and that's one thing that I do to help the veteran community.
Yeah. And when you went to Peru, did you also go to Peru for the attention and learning more about plant medicine? I know like in Peru, a lot of the stuff that they help for people to like deal with ailments, they just go out into the Amazon and go into the forest and get the plants to actually help people for whatever ailments they're dealing with.
Yeah, I wish that would have been my purpose, but it was more vacation, which I still learned about different plants, but it wasn't just a plant focused trip. I haven't done a lot of like that intentional adventuring, but I'm going to put that on my list for 2022.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So after having like this really wide spectrum of experience in your life and your career, how did you decide on, okay, this is who I am and this is what I'm doing?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kai. I think it was a very exploratory. I was living in New York, like I mentioned. I was a pastry chef, and New York kind of like chewed me up and spit me out during that time. And I was like, oh my God, I have got to get out of here. So I moved to a yoga retreat center. And from there, I like started really that self-exploration. I was doing a lot of meditation and learning yoga, became a yoga teacher. And when I lived there for about 6 months, and from there, I was like, you know, it was like the soundboard, I guess, for my jumping off into learning different things. And from there, I really started to explore that I wanted to help people in this natural way. And so then I moved to Hawaii. I was a raw food chef there. I learned how to work in different environments and different alternative medical offices, and really started to explore. Then I became a massage therapist, and I was like, okay, now I'm learning to work with the body, like feeling what the body is like. And I was like, okay, now I want to learn something else. So then I started to have all these different tools come in. And then when I had this toolbox, I was like, well, how am I going to really help people on that next level? So I started to investigate. And that's when I found out about naturopathic medical school. And it was like the perfect fit for me because everything kind of comes together with naturopathic medicine in that toolbox. But then I could diagnose and treat patients, which I really love, being able to be that detective and to figure out with them what's going on and really the root cause of why their life is out of balance.
And what does that look like in comparison to, you know, a regular MD?
That's a great question. So I think the main difference is when you go to see an MD, a typical medical doctor, you're getting diagnosed for a symptom, right? You're like, maybe you have migraines, for example. Then you're going to be most likely given a medication to help with that problem, right? A equals B. So from the naturopathic perspective, we're like, okay, you're coming in with migraine, but we want to look at the whole body, what's going on, and then dive deeper into what is actually the root cause of that migraine. Maybe it's because you have a vitamin deficiency. Maybe it's because you're stressed out and your muscles are tense in your body, causing you to have migraines. Maybe you're dehydrated, so we look at the whole body. Maybe it's an emotional piece. Maybe you're so stressed out that stress is causing your migraines. We don't want to just look at, it's like, it's a Band-Aid. I call, like typical medical model is much like a Band-Aid. And we want to rip that Band-Aid off and really figure out what's going on and help the person really find their true health. Like, not just help them on the way to continuing on this path of suppression, because that doesn't elevate them to their true purpose and passion in life.
That makes a lot of sense. Are there more comments?
Yeah. Oh, Garrett's here. What's up, brother?
Who's also a veteran.
Yeah, he's also
nice.
a veteran.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you for your service as well, brother. He put USMC.
U.S. Medical Corps, is that USMC?
Either that or Marine Corps.
Oh, U.S. Marine Corps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, Marine. Thank you for your service.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. And then, like you said, the root cause. And also, this is a good segue, real quick, just talking about that, like with the veteran service that you provide, and like for like the natural remedies that you actually provide for these veterans. Are they coming in with things that they're going through, and you help to get to root causes for what exactly is going on, and provide them, I guess, herbal solutions or whatever solutions it may be for them? I was like to hear more about it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So at the farm, the medicinal garden, I have a squad of volunteers that help me. So it's a volunteer run organization. And together we work on the plants. So we plant the plants, let them grow, harvest the plants, then we make medicine from those plants. All of that plant medicine is used in the community clinic for the veterans. So say like you came in, most of my patients in the farm are usually in a specific category when it comes to veterans, not that I'm categorizing them, but this is the medicine that we grow. So like chronic pain is a big one, PTSD, I work a lot with mental health. So with anxiety and depression and that PTSD piece, chronic pain, insomnia, those are, I think, the main ones. So we grow a lot of plants that fit into those kind of categories. Of course, that's not like, I see veterans with all different types of conditions, but those are the main ones. So we grow the medicine and then we use that medicine to help the veterans. So it's all free for the veterans, all their, the medicine and the service is all complimentary to them, the volunteers at the farm.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how do you holistically work in your own routine and your own healing with all of the amazing things that you're doing for people out in the world?
How do I have time for my self-care? Well, besides working on cloning myself, I think that for me, the pandemic specifically was a really, like, I'd already thought about reducing the amount of time. I used to run a clinic where I live with 18 different practitioners. I ran a huge clinic. And when the pandemic happened, I was like, well, this has got to close. So I closed it. And then I was like, oh, well, how am I going to shift my practice? So I still see patients in a telemedicine atmosphere. And then I also created programs where people could come in a virtual way and work with me and work in a healing collective. So that was kind of like my new shift. And when I am creating those programs allowed me to have more time for myself. So I really had that self introspection of like, what's my real vision? How can I expand and help more people? Because, one-on-one is limited. I only have so many hours in a day. So my vision is really to create like a global healing collective with my programs where anyone around the world can come in and learn, meet people. Because I know, and I've been a part of that environment when we come together as a group, that healing is then so magnified. And so that's kind of like my vision. So in the answer your question about the self-care piece, one is that I schedule my self-care for myself and I really mark it out. Like I don't see anything or start my day until 10 o'clock in the morning. And that allows me time to do all my juicing, all my supplements, make my breakfast, do my exercise and meditation. All that happens to me first before I do anything else. So I do that every day, and that's kind of not in exactly that order, but that's really my routine. Then at night, I have a big self-care routine too, where I'm either doing a hot bath or doing some more yoga or spending time with my husband, making dinner. So to me, self-care is really like, that's what it's about. I'm the only one. I'm the priority for myself. So do I want to have fun with my life? Yeah. So I need to make it happen. And the other people, if I'm helping them, they're going to get that help through me. The healthier I am, the healthier they'll be.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a good message. And you got a lot of hearts. So they definitely got that message as well.
Yeah.
The self-care portion. Yeah. That the cup, filling up your cup so your cup can be able to overflow for others and helping others.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So true. I used to be under the mindset, I think, like the harder that I worked, I would be able to provide more. Like, oh, if I could just work a little bit more today, like, I could just see another patient. And I was like, well, really, that's not what it's about. It's about like me taking care of myself. And when I take care of myself, I actually like have more fun. I'm able to see people in a completely different way. And like working at the farm, I have fun being with the plants. I can teach people how to learn about plant medicine. And, then they can teach that to their family, their community, and it spreads wider and wider and wider.
Yeah. Ripple effect.
Exactly.
I was just talking about the ripple effect too last week with someone, how just saying how we all are causing ripple effects, whether we know it or not. And our actions that we do to one person is going to ripple effect for whoever they interact with. So like the positive ripple effect, like you just mentioned, making those impacts, and then they can be able to help other people, be able to help other people. And then the opposite as well. Like if we cause harm or pain to someone, they're going to do the same thing to someone else, and then it's going to keep going and keep going. It's very, very like interesting and powerful just to know just how much of an impact we all can make in one moment with one person.
Right. So true. So true. And we've been put on this planet for ourselves. We didn't come with I believe we didn't come for the mission, like, okay, how are you going to help A, B, C, D people? Right. We came to here to explore and be in depth for ourselves, to learn more about ourselves, to explore our souls deeper. And through doing that, maybe that's that ripple effect, right? Like, okay, if I'm learning how to meditate more deeply, or maybe less time in my day so that I can actually tune in more quickly to my soul, right? So when I do that, then I can show other people like, oh yeah, look, I just meditated for 5 minutes today, and look how much more happier I am, or more attuned to I am, or more in alignment.
Mm-hmm. And that was another thing too with meditation, because I heard people say like, I don't have time to meditate, or meditation is too hard. And some people feel like they got to sit there for so long. And like you mentioned, like 5 minutes, if you set 5 minutes to be for yourself to begin your day, like it's so monumental.
Totally. It's so key. And if we think like, okay, how many hours do we have in a day? And we're just going to take 5 minutes for ourselves to tune in. I mean, that's nothing, right? It's like when you have that radio dial and you're like tuning in to the volume that you need, right?
Yeah.
In that 5 minutes. So I think that I talk to patients about that all the time. Like that to me is like 100% a part of what many people need on the planet, is that introspection time, that time to really tune in to their radio station, their frequency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like the pandemic is definitely teaching all of us that time for introspective.
Totally. Yes. People are learning all different ways to learn about themselves and other people around them.
Yeah. Oh, we got a couple. Let's see. So Peter said, I had 2 uncles in the corpse. My next to youngest uncle posthumously will be receiving a star on the Wall of Honor at CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia in a couple of months.
Wow.
He was a Marine ambassador, or a Marine embassy guard in Old Havana. He was assassinated on June 18, 1951. My condolences for you, Peter.
Wow. Yeah.
And then Garrett mentioned, he said, I would love to know how I can be able to offer my services free to veterans. So I guess this is a question he wanted to potentially sync up with you to see how he can be of service for the veterans that you
Sure.
work with.
Yeah. Yeah. You can send me a message, email, anything like that. My email for the farm is Dr. LuLu at veteranshealingfarm.org. DRLULU at veteranshealingfarm.org. So you can definitely, email me or find me on Facebook, private message me, find me on Instagram, any of those things. There's lots of ways to find me and contact me for sure. And I would be glad to help you learn different ways to help the veterans community or tap you in, right? Sink you into helping. We'd love that.
Yay.
Yay.
I love when people connect with the same like purpose type.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah,
pretty
me
cool.
too. Mm-hmm.
And then Peter just said, you are a breath of fresh air. And I know the veterans will learn so much from you, Dr. LuLu.
Thank you, Peter.
And then the other one he said is, seeing that you lived in North Carolina, have you ever heard of Penland School of Craft in Penland, North Carolina? Penland is about northwest of Charlotte, about 60 miles away.
No, I haven't heard of that before, but I'll check it out. Penland? Is that how it was?
Yep.
Penland?
Yep, Penland, so PENLAND.
No, I haven't heard of that, but I'll check it out for sure. Yeah, one thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Kai.
No, you first.
I was just going to say, I didn't mention that at the farm, I teach workshops. So this year I have 3 full-day workshops, and we have applications where veterans from all over the nation can submit, and we'll be happy. So keep an eye on the Veterans Healing Farm Facebook page, or sign up for the newsletter, because we accept the applications, and then we have 20 people per workshop. So you come and you learn about the plants, you learn how to make plant medicine, and then they're themed like anxiety, depression, immunity, things like that. So that's a great thing for the veteran community, for your listeners out there, because it's a wonderful way to really learn about ways that you can help yourself with plant medicine.
Wow, that's extraordinary. And I'm curious too, you said that you work with like 18 other practitioners. How do you typically work with people? Like who's in your ecosystem in terms of, your profession?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. A referral network is so key, because, people need all different types of individualized medicine, individualized health, because we're each, you two are completely different from what you need, right? As opposed, everyone has an individualization. And so when working, I want to have that network, that ecosystem. I love that word, Kai. So that way, I can refer out if somebody needs acupuncture, or if they need chiropractic help, or maybe they need a massage, and so working at that bigger clinic where I ran, then I would be able to just refer people in my clinic mainly. Counseling is a big one too. I work a lot with counseling referrals. And now, things are a little bit better. In the beginning, it was kind of strange to the pandemic where I wasn't able to refer out as much, but now I can, because people can go into that, one-on-one environment more. I think mostly I refer out for acupuncture, chiropractic care, and counseling. I think those are my 3. And then if somebody needs specific, like maybe they need a gynecologist or endocrinologist, something like a specialist, then I'll refer out to more of that specialty. But yeah, so I think that when we create that ecosystem, that referral network, it allows us to help and support the other healers in the community, which is part of being a healer, because, you want to be able to support that art, which is so special.
Yeah.
I love it. That's the unconditional healing.
Mm-hmm.
And also humility. Maybe this person can do it better.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah,
exactly
totally.
what she's looking for.
Yeah. We only have so much room in our brain, right? Like we can access it every moment in time. So what I'm processing and accessing might be different than the healer right next to me, or tuning in, having that information come through, like, oh yeah, this is what this person needs. I'm like, oh, that's such a great idea. Let's combine that together. Let's work together to help this person get back on the right track.
Yes.
Yeah, we get to work together.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yes, that's more fun.
So how do people typically find you? Are they referred in from other practitioners as well?
Yeah, I do get referrals. I think most of my how people find me is word of mouth and searching, Googling or searching for on like Instagram. I'm a lot on Instagram, but yeah, referral. So for instance, either someone sees me and they're like, oh yeah, this is going on with you. Dr. LuLu would be a great fit for you. Or I do a free wellness webinar every week, and that's a great way that people can kind of like come in, they learn something for free. Like last night, I did a wellness vision board workshop, and that was great. So that's a wonderful way for people to, one, be in that healing community with others learning, and then they're also meeting me and kind of feeling my vibe, and how I can help them. So that's a great way for people to really, like, if you're listening and I have every week I have a free webinar, and there you can also go back and access them all. So say you're interested in learning about gut health or the thyroid or how to manage stress, self-care, and that's all on my website, and it's all free for the public. So that's another thing I do is my goal is to really empower you with like the resources, and they shouldn't be like hidden away in a lockbox in a safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I have a question now, because this would be a good question, especially for the collective space and what people are in right now, in which they are dealing with a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety about the unknown, a lot of fear as well, based upon the things that are happening, like the pandemic and stuff like that. So you're mentioning having certain like remedies and herbs to actually help with that type of thing. So for like stress, for those things I mentioned, stress and anxiety and stuff, like what is your recommendation for people who are potentially dealing with that, like a way to help them to alleviate those things?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are lots of herbs that help us to adapt to stress. They're called adaptogens, which is great, right? And they help us to really like manage stress. That's that sympathetic nervous system piece, that fight or flight, right? And so when our body has kind of two ways it deals with stress. One, we have an acute response, right? We're like, oh my God, that bear's behind me. I'm going to run as fast as I can. But then we're like, when we're in a chronic state of stress, just like the pandemic, that's fight or flight response doesn't get turned off, right? And so when we are trying, or I don't like the word work, when we're understanding that our body is out of balance, then we want to choose some new things to bring in. So adaptogenic herbs are wonderful. That can help us deal with stress. Ashwagandha, Tulsi, those are some of my favorites. Then when we're talking about the anxiety piece, we want to use calming herbs. And there's lots of different ones. They're called nervines. So like poppy, valerian can help with sleep, kava. I mean, there's so many wonderful nervines. And so I'll use those a lot in combinations with stress or helping patients with stress, because you want to have both of those things. You want to help adapt to the stress, right? Deal with the stress, but then you want to calm that nervous system down. So when you have that fight or flight response, you're not just, having it. You're able to understand the situation, the stress around you. And the other part of that is really that mindset piece. Because if you can't change or aren't willing to change the mindset, you're never going to change your stress response. So I work a lot with patients with that piece for sure, that emotional piece, that maybe have trauma from the pandemic. A lot of us have had that response or are dealing with a PTSD of the pandemic, maybe a loss of a loved one, maybe a loss of a job, maybe, there's so many different things that we've seen the side effects, that's not really the best word, the outcomes of it, right? So changing those things, I think, is really key. But when it comes to self-care, there's lots of different things you can do, and that depends on your individuality. I think there's herbs, there's supplements that can help a lot with stress. There's baths, taking like nice hot baths, there's exercise, eating well, so that nutritional piece, drinking lots of water, talking with someone. I mean, creating that foundation of health then helps you deal with this daily chronic stress.
What I heard from that is doing something about it.
Yes, that's so true. You can't just take a back seat, behind the driver and let somebody else drive your course. That's not how you get to have a better life. You've got to choose. And when I see new patients, it's all about compliance. Like, if you're not willing to do the work, I'm not the practitioner for you, because I don't handhold patients through the work. You have to be able to take, it's your own life. You have to take charge with it. If you're not, and when you're in a chronic state of disease, you don't always feel like you have that energy, right? So of course, first you have to lay the foundations and get those wheels turning. But also, if you're not ready to make the jump off of the cliff and try new things and really take that empowerment piece, you're just going to stay in the driver's seat and you're never going to shift your life, really.
Powerful.
Extremely.
Yeah.
What's one of the most mind-blowing instances of healing that you can recall and that you can share, that you've experienced in your line of work?
That's a great question. There's so many different. One things I like to do is, I guess I'm a dabbler. I like to try out different experiences for myself. So I think to answer that would be an experience that I've had myself. And I've learned lots of different healing modalities, not just naturopathic medicine, but I think one of the most profound things that I've experienced and learned is about sound and vibrational medicine, using like sound bowls, using an environment of sound, using tuning forks. I think because our body is so much of a vessel of vibration, right? We're water and electricity. That's mainly what our body is made of. And so when we use some type of vibrational medicine, especially sound, it enables our body to shift like so quickly, because that sound then resonates with different areas that are stuck within ourselves. So I've experienced a lot of sound healing and I love it. Like for me, it really resonates. It allows me to shift really easily. It helps me to open up more. It helps me to let stuff go, like the quote unquote crap go that I'm holding on to. And so I think that is really the most profound for me, is a sound healing.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Sound is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Sound bowls. Mm-hmm.
Oh man. And the person is here, Garrett. Garrett does an amazing job with the sound bowl.
Yeah.
And we have a couple comments. So Peter was saying he was trying to find information regarding a webinar. He said, can he find out on your website?
Yeah. And it's called Empower-You. So that's my Empowerment University. If you go to the top of my website in the tabs, so my website is DocLuLu. That's like, what's up, Doc? Doc LuLu. And if you go to the top of the tab, it says Empower-You, and that's Empowerment University. And it has all my programs, all my workshops, and all the webinars. So if you go down, like scroll down to the webinars, that's all the free stuff there. And there's, I don't know how many there's a lot. My goal last year was to make one every week. So all of those are on there from last year.
And then Garrett said, make the uncomfortable comfortable and repeat.
Love it. Yes. Yeah. Put yourself on repeat and maybe shuffle a little bit too.
Shuffle. Those remind you of what was the things we used to have before? The iPods?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, the little iPods, right?
Shuffles.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. We have to have that shuffling up to have the new experience.
That's true.
Yeah.
I heard somebody say that too. I don't even know where I heard it from today, but they just got awareness of it. It was like, you can't keep doing the same thing and expect to get a different result.
That's so true. That's right. Especially as we're moving into 2022. I was just talking about this in the webinar last night. It's like, you are the painter of your canvas, right? So how are you going to paint your canvas differently this year? It's a whole new empty canvas. And what are you going to put on it? Are you going to have, like for me, like travel? I'm definitely going to be traveling and speaking around the world. Like that's one of my big passions. So I got to put that on there. I got to paint that canvas, teaching people how to learn about plants and spreading plant medicine around the world. I got to have a big, painting of a picture of a plant in there. So, we're the painters. And if we don't use the brush to paint our new vision, it's just like it's a dried up brush on the palette.
Have people come to you with symptoms from the pandemic? Like how are recent events really affecting your practice?
Good job of saying it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And that's a great question, Kai. And I think the main thing that I've seen is my patients, the patients that I already had, then they would be experiencing specific things related to the pandemic. So my patients that had already had a lot of anxiety and stress, that like went through the roof. They were just like, they were anxious about going out anywhere. They're still, really anxious about being comfortable in public, and so I think we're going to see the fallout from the pandemic from a health perspective for many, many years to come, because people are, they're still figuring things out. Right. And so I think the anxiety and peace, and that's what I've seen with my practice and new patients coming in, like, how do I deal with this anxiety? How, and so learning how to, like we just mentioned before, that self-care piece, all those aspects of stress. So what else have I seen? I've also seen some, of course, positive results as people are realizing that they're wanting to shift, right? They're realizing things that maybe they were really stressed out for their job that they hated. And they're like, well, this is an opportunity for me to kick that job to the curb. So I have had patients who are almost like on a clean slate, so to speak, and in struggling with how to create that new life, right? And so I think that I've seen a lot of increase in some specific symptoms or conditions, but also a real aspect of letting go and people on a new path, a new plate, which has been super amazing. And I'm honored and blessed to see that experience with patients, because it's a rare opportunity where you see a bunch of that happening simultaneously, which I think for me and my perspective, not everyone feels this way, but the pandemic was needed in that way. We have to shake the quote unquote shit up. Like there has to be a way for us to get ourselves out of the norm to have a shift on the planet. The planet was stagnant. If enough of us are asking for a shift, the planet is going to give us something back. Not that I'm saying the pandemic was needed for everyone, but I'm saying the occurrence, the activities, the disturbances that it caused in our regular lives to call us to even to investigate specific areas that might have been out of balance.
Yeah. I feel like it was needed for all of us to awaken.
Mm-hmm.
And collectively, we co-created this into this reality for this going on. But then like the wellness, but also that present moment gut check that happened for us. Like, are you really doing things that make you happy in life? Or do you feel like you are forcing yourself to do stuff for the need of whatever it may be? And like you mentioned, people coming to you with talking about the jobs that they hate and ready to make a shift now. So like those are like some of the positive things that this pandemic was able to bring for us, that more awareness to just our own personal lives.
Mm-hmm. So true. And we're still seeing that, and people are still going to be shifting as, things continue to change, especially in jobs, because a lot of us have I never have sat so much in my entire life. For me, I had to schedule in movement in a way that I didn't ever realize I would. So I make sure I have breaks, because I'm not really a sitter. You probably can see that from my personality, but I'm a doer. And when I worked at the clinic, I was up a lot, right? Moving, seeing patients. And now I'm in this sitting environment. So I'll put on music. I'll have a dance party for a few minutes, in between patients. And so I've really had to actual schedule movement time for myself, which has been different.
I love that. The in-between dance party between clients. Oh my goodness. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It gets your body moving. Right. And I also have to let go I have to be able to shift and clear from that energy from that current patient. And then if I'm not moving, it's going to be stuck within my vibration. And so then I can't then move to help the next patient clearly. So it's like, I can use herbs to help with that. I can drink water, but movement is best because that helps everything flow through the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. So like maybe you'll take like a nice whiff of some aromatherapy
Oh,
in
yeah.
between.
We even get there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sage, most people have heard of like saging. So I'll make like I'll use the sage essential oil in a bottle spray, and I can just spray around my environment. Yeah. Look at that. Exactly. Palo Santo. Yeah.
I love it.
That's
I love
agua de flor.
Oh, agua de flor. I'm sorry.
Oops.
This is why I don't prescribe stuff. I'll prescribe the wrong thing. Take this one.
But Palo Santo is also really good. I was hearing some things about it, about the endangerment of that plant recently. And I need to actually do some more research about it because, that's one thing about plant medicine. When we learn like, oh my gosh, there's this amazing plant. It's like as humans, everybody wants to have it at once. And there's only so much of that plant matter to go around. And so we do have to use something with caution. But I think that's one thing that working at the farm, growing the big medicinal garden that I do, it's really made me value plant medicine. When you were holding up that bottle, it's like, how much life force did it take to make that? Right? Like how many people had to go into it, how much sun and water and soil and how many plants, so I think that even just with food we buy on the shelves, we don't value it enough. And when I have the squad of people that come and help me at the farm, I'm like, wow, this is a lot of work it takes to make this like peppermint tea. I'm like, yeah, it does.
Yeah. And also it just reminds me of just like you say, all the people who touch it. So it's so many different energies that are going on, but also the location of where the plant was. So what was going on in that environment type of thing. It's a lot of things to take consideration, but like you said, we can potentially overlook it. Oh, here we go. Got it in front of me type of thing.
Right. Yeah. It's so important to have that quality, I think, too, when you're talking about different herbs and different supplements. And, there's a lot of different things out there and purchasing one that resonates with you. And that can be hard and challenging if you're not, used to that. But I think practicing that, like I don't always recommend buying things at the store because it goes through a lot of different hands. So finding, having like coming through me or another alternate health practitioner where that product is actually valued, right? And so you can kind of like the more intimate the environment can be, where it goes from like 2 people or 3 people, is going to help that vibration be higher. And when it's more highly processed, more, in a larger facility, that vibration is going to change. Just has to. The quality changes.
Yeah. Like the intention of why the person's doing it as well. I feel like the impact of it.
Yeah. So true. So research, if you're out there buying supplements, research the company. How big is the company? Where does it come from? How many places does it have to ship to? I don't recommend buying supplements on a big place like Amazon because it's a huge warehouse. It's not controlled in a specific environment. You don't know, was the supplement hot or was it stored improperly? Were the probiotics not kept cool? So if you're going to be putting something into your body and paying for it, you want it to work. You don't want to just pee it out.
That's some expensive pee.
That's right. Exactly.
That's true. So there's a big spectrum, right? When we're talking about plant medicine, we could talk about, food as medicine. Strawberry can be medicine, right? And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have way on the other end of the spectrum, we have psychedelics. So where in this spectrum does your practice lie?
I think I'm on. That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I think I have the combination of that spectrum because one, it's like that basic plant, and the food is medicine. And so herbs are medicine. So that basic plant comes in. But then I also, I make specific formulas for patients. I individualize those formulas. So then I have a whole process where I energetically check each thing I'm putting into it. I energetically check the formula. Then I put a vibrational, like, my message and intention into the formula. So definitely that's when the spectrum starts to get towards that psychedelic. Not that my stuff's psychedelic, maybe, but it does alter your vibration. But, on that higher scale, because I really believe that our body is 100% vibration. And when we use something that is of a higher intention, is of a higher vibration, we can shift. And the higher that vibrational piece, the easier it is for us to shift, as opposed to, you can shift with a strawberry. I mean, it could be the best like strawberry you've ever had in your life, right? It can completely change you, and then you could remember it forever. So taking that piece and adding it to the high vibrational piece, that's what true medicine is.
Yeah. You know that feeling when you taste like the most delicious fruit you ever had.
Yeah.
Just that moment of bliss.
Totally. Where the juices are like running down your face. You're like, oh, that was the best. Yes. I know that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've been juicing for 7 days.
Oh,
And I
nice.
can only imagine when I take that first bite of food, whenever that will be, that it may be that life-changing.
Yeah, it's so true. And, we have created a different relationship with food, I think, than we've ever had because we have so many foods that aren't pure anymore, and people don't understand. They don't have the relationship with their mind, their taste buds, their body, what's going in, being able to appreciate it, but also being able to feel that nourishment, and that's what I love about juicing and doing fasting or some kind of other detox, is that you give your body a break to appreciate the actual quality of what's going in.
Yeah. And also realize how sensitive our bodies are to what it is that we're putting in it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yes. Yeah. And when we have a clear tube, a clear channel for what we take in, then there's not an overlap of miscommunication, right? It's like you don't have like so many messages. You're like, well, I just ate that, I don't know, pastrami sandwich. Not that I eat those, but like I was just thinking of something that was like a lot of different things, and that's what came to my mind. But where it's like all these different tastes at one time, and our body's having to like absorb the taste and then process it and then digest it, assimilate it. I mean, our body's a complicated but yet unique vessel.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Because I made that shift too. Not part with the juicing and stuff, but really getting more conscious of what I eat. Doesn't like my body just pretty much telling me like, yo, man, you gotta like become a clearer channel to allow your body to do what it naturally does. Meaning like for ailments, being able to heal those ailments, like my body told me this is happening in meditation, like you have to allow yourself to be that space and not put the stuff in front of your healing. Like what's happening by eating like a lot of the processed and the bad food is you're blocking your healing that you say you want, but now you're blocking it from like all that stuff. So just make that, like you said, a clear channel to allow that to happen, which I've been doing for about a couple of days now. But like those couple of days, like I feel like so amazing.
I love that. Yeah. And I think too, and that other part of it is, a lot of times patients will come to me in the beginning and I ask them to eliminate foods, right? Because they have been triggering them in a specific way, whether that's maybe gluten or sugar, because their body has gotten off track. But one of the things that I really emphasize with them is to adding things in, because when our body thinks like, oh God, all you're going to do is ask me to give up coffee, right? I'm like, okay, well, maybe, but what are we going to replace that with to have that feeling of satisfaction? And I think trusting that one, what your body doesn't need, but then trusting what you do need is, I think, even more important.
Yeah. And like that feeling of biting to like an amazing fruit. So like normally for me, I had a craving when I have like a craving, okay, I want to eat something. And then I just decide to eat whatever. But like what I did for that time was like, okay, I'm going to eat an apple. and it was like the most delicious apple I ever tasted, because like, oh, it's like a healthy choice. I was like, oh, like bliss. That's why I was just saying that, because that's exactly how I felt in the moment of eating that. It's just straight bliss with it.
I love that. That's so true.
Yeah. So you're saying that you don't really eat pastrami sandwiches.
Well, it's not my regular occurrence. I can't really name the last time I had one, but I do eat all different types of things. I let myself have the freedom. I used to be a vegetarian. I was a vegetarian for 13 years. I was really strict on myself. I was a vegan, actually. And that's why I use that vocabulary, strict, is I found that I was too strict. I was like really limiting myself. And I wasn't having the freedom to make the choices and listening to my body. So I was traveling. I was going to France and Italy to travel on my own. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to eat whatever I want. And if I want to eat it, then I'm going to eat it. I'm not going to let myself feel guilty. I'm not going to let it all go. And for me, that was like one of the most profound decisions I think I ever made, because now I feel like I have the freedom. I can still choose to eat a vegetarian diet and eat vegan and not eat animals, but if I feel like my body needs to have a piece of salmon because that's what it's like craving and feeling, I let myself have the freedom to eat it and then let go of the other like things that I personally was causing myself to restrict of freedom.
So leaning more towards an intuitive nature.
Exactly.
So when you decided to do that, and obviously the strict part of you probably came up and said things to you, or whatever way it said something to you to get you back in that strict one, but you say you let it go. And I know this question is a good question for a lot of people out there who may have those thoughts that come up to beat themselves up over a decision they made or whatever thing they did in the moment. How are you able to let those things go? Like, like for yourself, when those thoughts came up or whatever came up for you?
Yeah, I think it's about creating the distraction and the replacement. So so if you're having, like, this is a tape loop conversation, right? So you're stuck in this place where the tape loop of like, maybe you're addicted to sugar, which is super common. Like you're like, okay, and this tape loop is I need to feed my body sugar to do all the things that I want to do, whether that's exercise, hang out with friends, or have energy, right? So that's that tape loop. So one, you have to break the tape loop. You have to be able to have the courage to break the tape loop. Two, then you have to distract yourself with something else. So for me, like in that experience that I was talking about, I decided I was going to make that shift, and I distracted myself with all different types of things I hadn't been doing, right? So that was trying new foods. So if you're making a shift in your nutritional plan, currently you're out there listening, tuning in, and you're like, okay, I want to make a shift. You try things that you've never tried before. Studies have been shown that we as humans eat the same 30 foods every all the time. We just rotate them. I'm like, that is so boring. Like, there's so many other foods out there. So when you're going to the store today or tomorrow, pick something not off the shelf, pick something in the produce department, right? That you haven't tried in a long time or a while, something new to excite your palate, excite your mind. And so that's the distraction technique, right? So you got to distract it and then replace it with something that your body is like, ooh, this is cool. What's this? We need to have something to mix things up. Otherwise, life is way too boring and we're just going to be a piece of paper on the shelf.
Ooh, let's see. Hey, Allison. We got some more comments.
Nice.
I gotta catch up now. Let's see. So Allison said, hello, excellent practice for healthcare workers between patients. Oh, she's probably talking about what we're saying, you're dancing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, as healthcare workers, thank you for your service. Like 100%, you guys have pulled us through, and thank you.
Yeah. And then Peter say, I agree. Allison, it makes sense. And then I guess when we're talking about the nutrition side of things, Peter said that's one area I need to improve on. One counter is that I eat tons of fruit.
So balancing that sugar and fruit, because fruit is great for you, but you need to balance it on the plate, right? Because your body, like even if you're juicing, like Kai was saying, it's like if you're juicing, you need to mix it up with other vegetables, because you don't want to have a really high amount of glycemic index, because what happens if it sends your body, even just we're talking about blood sugar, right? It'll send that spike up and it'll be up, 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 and then you'll crash below that plateau. So then you end up down here. So if you're mixing your fruits and vegetables, it allows, instead of this, it allows like this, right? That even keel, then you have a lot more actually sustainable energy. So if you're really into fruits, go for it. Fruits are awesome. They're so needed, but add more vegetables too.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Juju. So Juju's here as well. And she said, I need to reroute what my body signals are craving, because if I listen, I will eat French fries every hour. Where would I begin to distract those thoughts? Fasting. And then she said to reboot.
Right. Yeah. Reboot. So when it comes to doing a reboot, if you're like stuck in that tape loop, like we talked about, the French fry tape loop. So your cells have a memory, okay, in the body. And so what we have to do is we want to, like, you could think of them as like that, like they get greedy, like especially a sugar and a carb cell. They're like, oh my God, you didn't feed me today. I'm not talking to you. I'm not going to do what you want me to do. Right. So when we have that particular thing that we're really craving, we want to look at a couple sides of it. One, what is the emotional context of that? For instance, like with French fries, is that your go-to when you're feeling like low in energy? Maybe that was the food that your parents gave you every time you were having a bad day. Like, you want to look at that emotional aspect of the food and see that point. Then you want to really like eliminate all of those triggers. And that's why a detox, like Kai was saying, the juicing, some type of detox to eliminate all those triggers. And so you really need to dive deep into doing something where you're eliminating the trigger foods. So sugar, dairy, processed foods, because when you continually feed them, that message that you're sending the cells then is repeated, and those cells are going to keep craving it. And it usually takes about 90 days to eliminate that message, because our cells reboot themselves every 90 days. So it's like, not that I'm saying you need to do a detox for 90 days specifically, but eliminating foods, those trigger foods. You just have to say like, okay, you can do it. You got the strength to do it. You're not going to eat French fries for like 90 days. Maybe you're going to have a yucca instead, something else that would be a substitution. But yeah, working, and I think having a program with other people, a support partner, right? So if you're like, okay, I really want to try eliminating this particular food, how do I do it? So look for something out there that can, like my genetic detox program is a great example, something that really can help you in a group, because you need to have support. You can't just be like, I'm just going to eliminate everything on my own. You're going to just like, that's not going to happen very well. Unless you got willpower. You got to have the willpower for sure.
Yeah.
It's your superpower.
Yeah. The power and support group with the same common goal is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I was just hearing when somebody was talking about just the power of just the AA group, people with the same intention of what they're doing together, but that support system for you to actually be able to break the habit.
Right. Yes. And there is something I want to say about that support system. So when you don't want to be involved in a support system where everyone's complaining about the problem. Yeah. If that makes sense. You want to be in a support system that is elevating you to a new place of health and livelihood. Because what happens if we're surrounding ourselves in that support complain group, for instance, like that's one thing about some of the groups that are online for like, let's say, I don't know, multiple sclerosis, for instance. It's like when you're in this constant state of complaining and it doesn't help you lift yourself. It's like you can't see that next vision of yourself. You can't move into that next place that you want to be because you're like, well, I'm just going to wallow in the complaining. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And that, like, to me, that's like being stuck in the victimhood mentality about it.
Exactly.
Instead of like, okay, here's what's going on. Now I want to do something different, and I'm going to do something different.
Right. Yeah. And I work a lot with patients on that vision in the beginning. Like, so what would you look like if you left that over behind you, right? How do you see yourself now? How do you see yourself in the future? Are you ready to be that new person? How much do you interact with that current like labeling, right? Like, do you feel supported because you're labeled as that? Do you feel, if you let that go, how would your life look different? Are you going to lose the support of your family? Are you going to shift the support of your family? Are you going to lose a specific support group? So you do need to look at those things when why you're holding on to something, why you're labeling yourself with that chronic disease state. What's the reason that you want to move forward, and what does your life look like, or what do you want it to look like, right, in the future?
Yeah. So holding that vision like as the light at the end of the tunnel, rather than being on repeat as to where they are in the current moment.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Seeing it and being it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Dr. LuLu, this hour has gone by so fast.
It has.
And our audience definitely loved it. So
Yeah.
Peters just said, Kai and Dell, you always have excellent people on your show. Thank you for that. So
Thank you.
that just shows this how excellent you were with this conversation.
Thank you for having me, Kai and Dell. I've so appreciated the time to talk to your audience about, just about health in general. I think it helps open everyone's mind, vibration, their vision for health for 2022. So important.
Yeah. And then we have one more comment.
Of course.
So Juju said, yes, groups that wallow in complaining or wallow in grief, that is a cycle within itself. That's almost as bad as the French fry craving. We need healthy cycles. Thank you.
You're welcome. I do love French fries.
Yeah, right?
Yes. But in moderation, and make them yourself. I know we're running out of time, but make your own French fries. Like, that's a great thing to do. You can just bake, I like to cut a potato up and put it in the oven and bake it with like lots of great spices. You're making it yourself. You're using organic potatoes. You're not using crappy canola oil, which is a killer to the cells, so learn how, that's that substitution, right? Like, how can I make something more healthy that I'm actually craving?
Yeah. Imagine making sweet potato curly fries.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. With a spiralizer. Yummy.
Dr. LuLu, do you mind repeating where people can find you?
Sure, I'd love to do that. So my website is Doc LuLu, DocLuLu.com. And then you can find everything there about me. And then also follow me on Instagram is where I am the most. And that's Dr. LuLu Shimek, SHIM as in Mary EK. And that's also on my website too. You can probably Google or in your Instagram search Dr. LuLu. There's not too many that come up as well. But those are the best ways to find me and find about what I have going on.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It was a joy.
Yeah. And thank you everyone who's been listening.
I'm just following her.
We appreciate you, and you make the show what it is because we are co-creating together each episode.
Yeah.
This has been a great conversation between all of us. Alrighty, then everyone who is here, just a little reminder to stay magical and check you out next week. Take care.